evening and welcome to Real Talk, where every Sunday night we offer insight, education, and resources to in-home caregivers and those affected in their world. These are the children, the parents, the extended family, and everyone who loves them. And our goal is to offer real-life topics and learning through discussing real issues and offering real solutions. And tonight I am very excited to welcome our guest, Temi, and I'm going to let you pronounce your last name for us.
I'm Dr. Temi Oregbasola Okere. I had the audacity to hyphenate a long name, so
I love
but Dr.
it.
Temi works just fine.
All right, so Dr. Temi it is. We'll go with that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dr. Temi, and then we're going to talk about some really fascinating things tonight that I'm excited to bring to you. So I'm going to read the bio and we'll go from there. So Dr. Temi is a doctor born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, just in case you were not sure from that shirt that she's got on tonight. She now calls Clinton, Maryland home. She holds a Bachelors of Science in Biology from Penn State University, a Master's of Public Health from the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, now known as Rutgers, and a doctorate degree from Walden University. Her passion for servant leadership in her professional background spans over 15 years. Dr. Temi started her public health career as a health educator for underserved girls in the Bronx, New York. This is where her love for health education and promotion blossomed and became more of a fixture in shaping her career. She carried this passion for working with the underserved and women specifically through to most of the work that she did. Outside of work, she was an avid public defender of women's empowerment, which filtered into Nigerian women's empowerment. I thought I was reading that twice there. She traveled to Nigeria in 2008 and found that she had an epiphany that was directly linked to her passion. And pronounce this for me, Ireti, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
The Ireti Foundation was born. Through Ireti, Dr. Temi is hoping to establish provision of medical and social services for women and children in Nigeria. Since the inception of the Ireti Foundation, Dr. Temi has expanded into entrepreneurship, forming Dr. Temi LLC. Her business houses her coveted online course for moms, Live Your Best Life Mama, and the all right, pronounce it for me so I don't mess it up.
Omugwo.
Omugwo box, perfect. The first African-inspired gift box for new moms. And I'm going to encourage you all right now to check this out after you watch this, because it is fascinating to see how cultural practices impact things. And I love when we can bring so many different perspectives. So I've already checked it out and it's pretty awesome. Her love for public health and her rich Nigerian culture are very apparent in her philanthropic work and business. She is currently a community developer with Prince George's County and an adjunct professor at Trinity Washington University. That's a mouthful. You have done some really amazing things. I just love what you're doing. And tonight we're going to focus on kind of one aspect of that and how it impacts postpartum practices. So we're going to discuss bringing Nigerian postpartum practices to Western culture. And I think this is one of those things that really is an industry we're just starting to open the box, so to speak, no pun intended, but to really understand that cultural influences and cultural information are so important, because Western medicine, while great, is not the be all and end all. And there are some fabulous things that we can learn. And so I'm excited to talk about this tonight. But before we jump into this, give our audience a little more personal look at you and why you're so passionate about the postpartum industry.
Yeah, so again, thank you so much for having me. I think I might be more excited than you, Tanya, to be here. But, a little bit about me and why I am where I am today. First off, I think it might be that I'm the first of 5 kids of, 2 immigrant Nigerian parents. And when you're the first child, so much is expected of you, right? So I didn't have a choice to be, I mean, I don't want to say mediocre. I'm not good at everything, but mediocrity is not in my vocabulary. I teach my children the same thing. So, I am a mother of two rambunctious boys. If anybody would like to rent one for the weekend, please let me know. I also, I'm also a wife, and my public health career spans over 15 years now. And a lot of where I am now is because I started off pre-med at Penn State, and I got into a program during my sophomore year where I was able to shadow doctors and just watch the ins and outs of how things work. And I did not feel at that moment, I did not feel that my calling was the medical field. So I now had to figure out what that was. And when I found out that it was public health, I became all about it. I finished with a bio degree, and then went to get my MPH. And I discovered so much about myself as a human being. I have always been involved in programs and extracurricular activities in school that actually spoke to helping the less privileged, helping the underserved. So that's always been ingrained in me. And so it kind of grew with me as I became an adult, as I became a professional. I continue to stay and continue to do the work. I also really I pride myself on being a servant leader. I serve first, I lead along with the serving. I have coined a quote for myself that says that the hallmark of everything that I've done and ever did is to help people be the best version of themselves. And I just know that when people run into me, like I'm, like it was said earlier, I'm from Brooklyn. We don't walk around with smiles stapled on our faces. But the minute, you start to speak to me, the hope is that you're gonna walk away just slightly different from who you were before you met me. And so, not to say that, I need to have this, crazy role in your personal life. I just pride myself on being that way with people. I respect the human condition. We're all human beings coming with all types of baggage and issues from wherever they come from. But I respect people on the human level. I talk to you as a human being. I feel your spirit. I feel your ups, your downs. I'm able to talk to you with that, through all of those things. I'm easy. I'm very personable, almost to a fault. Like I have folks, perfect strangers. I'll be waiting on a line, and somebody will just start talking to me about random things. Their son went to prison, or their son is coming back home from the army, and I don't know what to do about this. And I don't know if I have "please talk to me" stapled across my forehead, but it happens to me all the time. And I actually, some days I like it. Some days, most days I like it. Some days I just don't feel like it. But the inner part of me just makes me feel as if this person is talking to me clearly because there's something that made them feel as if they could. So I'm not going to you say, oh no, don't speak to me. I don't do that. I'm very personable. I love injecting humor into everything because we only have one life. It's not as long as we all think it is. Laugh a little, live a little. I'm a very, very big, big, big advocate for self-care and taking care of ourselves. I say this a lot because I am saying it more for myself so that I'm taking my own advice, but I push self-care for everyone, especially our moms. And a lot of the mother empowerment work that I have come to do is, also becoming a mom.
Mhm.
It changes you. There's nothing that will mentally remain the same once you have birthed people.
Mhm.
Once you have created human beings that you now are responsible for taking care of, there's a switch that goes off that makes you behave differently and think differently and function differently. And so you now have an understanding of what parents have been going through while parenting. So this is another chapter of my life that is a very important chapter of my life that I think I can help other people go through their ups and downs that they're experiencing dealing within this chapter. But all in all, I am, very personable, I'm fun. I love my kids. I am a big kid. Sometimes I don't feel like I've grown up enough, but, but I do pride myself on enjoying the little things in life. And so those, me being able to do that has definitely been helpful in all of the different steps and spaces of entrepreneurship that I've been engaging in.
Fantastic. I love that you said you like to inject humor and find those things that really enhance life. I was talking to you about it before we got started tonight about the fact that I always like to focus on the positive and find the good things.
Yeah.
Not ignoring the things that aren't great, but to find those positives, to find the lessons. So that's awesome.
Right.
So I want to kind of dig into our topic for tonight and how bringing Nigerian postpartum practices into Western culture impacts that. And some of the things that we want to talk about is the postpartum period, postpartum mood disorders, postpartum depression, and kind of the disparity in the rates of these occurring and how it's dealt with. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. So, again, the genesis of a lot of these things that are taking place in the, what I like to call my motherhood, um, is that, seeing and understanding what the statistics are, right? So being a public health professional also kind of seeps into all of this, like having been, having done research, having had conversations, having partnered with various organizations, and also having worked actually with an organization that actually did specific programming on maternal health. I understand that, Black and brown women are dying in pregnancy during childbirth. They're 3 to 4 times more likely to experience this. And this is based on research from the likes of reputable organizations like ACOG, CDC. You know, they're 3 to 4 times more likely to experience pregnancy-related death. They're also 4 times more likely to experience postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, blues, than their Caucasian counterparts. They're more likely to experience preventable maternal death. And the heightened risk of pregnancy-related death spans, along with income levels and education levels. So these are all things that in the public health realm, we know and we understand. What's being done about it? There's a lot that's being done about it. There are definitely a lot of coalitions, a lot of different movements, a lot of initiatives. Black Mamas Matter, on the National Birth Equity Collaborative. There are a lot of various organizations that are trying to do the work to try to close this gap. Right? It's something that it's talked about a lot. Now it's starting to get talked about because folks are going to Congress now. Folks who are educated, that they are socioeconomically sitting in positions that are much better than maybe their counterparts, that are also experiencing these life altering uh, uh, postpartum issues. Of course, you have some people who are, of course, they're dying. They have other people now to have to advocate for them. But this is something that we're seeing. It's becoming more of a topic of conversation, especially in the medical spaces. I've gotten to sit in those spaces to talk to doctors and nurses and other higher ups that are sitting in Congress, that are sitting in CDC, that are sitting in HRSA, all these various federal organizations that are helping to try to just kind of help out with everything. I don't know if you noticed, this past year, Kamala Harris has been very big on talking about maternal health. We have doulas who are in some states who are now, been written. They are being written into bills so that insurance can cover midwives and doula services and things of that nature. It's an exciting time to be in maternal health. It's an exciting time to be changing the waves of how things are moving right now. So we're talking about it, but I think it's definitely very important to make sure that people do understand the statistics. They're not made up. People sit and do a lot of research on this. We know that, complications are also a little bit different. Black and brown women are 3 times more likely to have fibroids. They also display signs of preeclampsia earlier in pregnancy than their Caucasian counterparts. With the high blood pressure and everything. I've experienced it personally. I always like to tell my story so that it does connect. I actually experienced with my first child, um, the week before I felt leakage, and I thought to myself, this is not right. It was my first child. I didn't know any better. And I told my doctor. I went to the ER, they tested me for amniotic fluid, and they said it was negative and they had to send me home. I said to them, I know my body. This does not feel right. When every time I urinate, more liquid comes out, and I know it's not coming out of where urine comes out. It feels different. They argued with me and told me that they can't keep me. I have to go home. I leaked amniotic fluid for a week. By the time my water broke entirely, it was blood tinged. It was not clear. This is when I knew there was an issue, but at this point, I have to stay calm. I can't totally freak out. I remember calling my husband. He was at the barber. We had an event to go to. I was picking out clothes and my water broke. And so, you know, he came home half shaved. He had like half his beard done. His hair looked tattered. And he's like, did you say your water broke? And I'm laughing, having contractions, but I know something is wrong. And I get to the hospital. I'm only 1 centimeter dilated, only to learn that I have 102 fever. I am now febrile in labor. So anybody that's listening, that is not a thing. That is not normal. It normally means there's infection. I was in pain. I'm having contractions. I'm just like, lady, I don't know what you're talking about. This baby just needs to come out. And we ended up having to do an emergency C-section because the baby's heart rate was going up and my fever kept going up. At this point, we had an emergency C-section. Baby comes out. A day later, my doctor tells me your placenta was infected. I said, you don't say. Now, I'm doing everything in my power to not cuss, Tanya. But I was like, you don't say. I came the week before I gave birth and complained. I saw you 2 days before I gave birth, and you told me I had nothing to worry about, even when I told you how I felt. The personal love that I had for my OB was what made me not actually bring about legal proceedings against the hospital, because there is record that I came to the hospital and you saw that this is what I came to test for. I came 2 days before and complained about the same thing, and I was still told to go home and that I was fine. My baby should have been delivered a whole week before he was delivered. And so he had to stay in the NICU. They had to monitor him. And this is to say, what I went through is the story of a lot of people of color, women of color in the United States. Like it's a thing. Like I thought that, just like how anybody else, I'm educated, I'm smart, I'm not being irate. I am speaking the same way I'm speaking to you. I'm letting them know I understand my body. What I'm feeling right now is not normal. Can you please help me? Can you please help me so that I can be alive and my child can be alive? I don't know what's happening. So this is the story of a lot of us. My sister went through the same thing, ended up with preeclampsia after having her daughter. She let the doctors know she did not feel right until she almost passed out at home and had to come back to the hospital after giving birth and stay there. This is a lot of our stories, right? So this is why it's important that, you know, stories like this are heard and we're having conversations about it. So that, Tanya, this doesn't become a one-off. It's not like, oh, this only happened to Dr. Temi. Like, oh, she's just saying it. No, my story is very similar to a lot of other women of color's stories. And really taking inventory of those stories, taking down the statistics, sharing those statistics, and incorporating it into continuing education for doctors and residents. It's very, very important in helping to close this gap because it doesn't make any sense. Like I always pride myself on, being a United States citizen. Sometimes I leave the country often. Sometimes I do go to Europe and they look down at me like, you're American. Like you think you're all this and you're all that, but you have this going on there. And then I have to shut my mouth because they're absolutely right. Like we are a superpower of just great proportions. But for some odd reason, we're still dealing with maternal mortality issues when it comes to um, women of color. And that to me is very, very like we have a lot of work to do when it comes to that because 3, 4 times more likely, way too high for my liking. If you wanted to say double, I'll take that. If you want to say, hey, 2 times more likely, but we're talking 3, 4, and depending on what your diagnosis was, it actually could be higher. That shouldn't be a thing in these United States of America. Like it just shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't I want to say, wow, I wish this was just a one-off thing, but I know that it's not. And without getting into too much, I've had a client who's had an experience. I had a client who was a Black woman who had a very similar experience to what you're talking about. And then with her newborn, who was sick, and took him to the emergency room, and he was showing all signs of RSV, and they dismissed her and said, you don't know what you're talking about, your baby's fine. Meanwhile, she had sent me a video and I said, go straight to the emergency room. Mm. He is showing signs of not breathing properly. I don't know what it is, but his chest should not look like that and he should not sound like this. And they totally dismissed her, told her she didn't know what she was talking about. She called me from the parking lot sobbing, and I said, you march right back in there and you tell them you have to be seen. You want him seen. And I said, and if need be, you call me back again and I will get in my car and I will drive to that emergency room and I will make sure that baby gets seen.
One way or another. Everybody to be like you, Tanya. Everybody.
And it just, it was infuriating. And yeah. I hate that that is the reality for Black and brown women in this country, but it is. Yeah. And I love that you are being proactive about doing something because it takes voices like yours to really make a difference. And so I would love to talk a little bit about what it is that you're doing and how that incorporates practices that you've learned and kind of self-care. Let's talk a little bit about the box that you've created and how that benefits people.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't intend to use any of this time to talk about it, but it actually does play into the conversation, right? So let me even start by talking about Omugwo and what it means, because when we talk about injecting Nigerian postpartum practices, it comes right along with it. So Omugwo is actually a term in the Igbo language that's spoken in Nigeria. And the term is just an umbrella term for when a mother or a mother-in-law comes to stay with a new couple when they've just had their baby. And the only role for the new mom is to eat, rest, and nurture her baby. Only 3 jobs. That is it. You get caught doing anything else, you're going to get in a whole lot of trouble by the mamas that are in the house. A lot of times it's either the mother or mother-in-law. Sometimes you have more matriarchs of the family that actually come to help to care for everything. And when I say they do everything, they do everything. When my mom came, she had a very short Omugwo with me. And when I say I cried real tears when she left, because it was just like, oh my gosh, now I have to go back to being by myself. But she cooked all my favorite meals, made sure the house was spotless. She bathed the baby. She darn near bathed me. She did everything. And then at the end of the Omugwo time, the couple, typically the couple will now typically the couple will give a gift to the mom for coming to spend this time. And it's usually like a really nice big gift that she'll go back home. Time period is maybe 3 to 6 months, depending on the mom. If she doesn't really have anything to get back to, she can stay longer. But that period is a period for healing and bonding with your child and getting back to yourself. There's actually a lot of different traditional practices that are done with the mother physically to help her heal. Like for me, it would be after my mom would bathe the baby and has fed him, he's now good, burped, he's either sleeping or just, laying down. She's like, okay, now you go get in the shower. After I get out the shower, she has a bucket of hot water and she just takes it and she presses it up against all my lower extremities. She'll
Mhm.
press down my back. She'll press down my belly. She'll put it on my swollen vaginal area, my buttocks, everywhere, just my upper body that would just help me. If I was having issues with milk clogging, she would also press down so that if the milk leaks, like we're able to catch it. But just to kind of loosen up those little knots all over the place. And then she gets all her butters, puts it on my belly, binds my belly because the goal is to get you looking cute again so you can get knocked up again. So, every time it was so funny because like she would rub the stuff on my belly and then she'll be like, ooh, sexy, sexy. We're gonna get sexy again. And I was just like, I am so not thinking about sex, being sexy, anything that begins with S and has an EX in it. I'm not even thinking about that right now. But the grandmas are always thinking about how they're gonna get more babies. So during that time, again, I was forced because sometimes I did not want to do, you don't want to, sometimes you just don't want to do anything when you give birth. You just want to just lay around and hope that, your kid is just going to latch and everything will be perfect and you won't have to do anything. But, definitely it's very helpful for that healing period. And I had a C-section. I had two C-sections. And so it was very important that, I do heal. I'm not bending, I'm not doing too much. And so having someone during that period is very, very important. I mean, nowadays, in Western culture, some of us don't have maternity leave.
Mhm.
Some of us, have maternity leave, but it's short. It's 3 to 6 weeks. I remember with my first, I was actually able to have maternity leave. And at 12 weeks, he's 3 months old. And I'm looking at this tiny person in his crib that I have to leave him in the care of someone else and go back to work. It's heavy, it's a lot. It weighs on you emotionally, it weighs on you mentally. But you know, the whole Omugwo process is supposed to help the mom heal. Mom and baby are at the core, mom more so than others. I have a friend who's a lactation consultant, Jabina Coleman. She actually trademarked the term. Everybody wants to hold the baby who holds the mother.
Mhm.
And I think that's such a valid point. We have baby showers and we get all this stuff for the mom, for the baby, and then it's just like, Mom, you got this, right? You cool? Okay, great, you're great. But I tried to flip that on his head, and that was because when I was looking for an item for myself for self care, uh, maybe about 6 or 7 months postpartum of my second child, because I was home, I wasn't working at the time, so I had a lot mentally just going on. And I wanted to check out. The first thing I did, I went through all the baby shower gifts, right? Let me see if I could find something in here for myself. There was nothing. I said, okay, that's cool. I'll Google something. I'll find something, right? Google forgets nothing. It has all the things. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find it. I typed in different combinations of words to try to find uh, uh, Black mom boxes, boxes for women of color, African gift boxes. And when nothing came up, when I say I was more angry than anything else, more so because I'm like, all these folks who are trying to find themselves, who have actually found themselves, and we know what the buying power and spending power of, folks of color, why isn't there something like this? And then I'm just like, we're dying at ridiculous rates. We're experiencing postpartum depression, anxiety, blues, all this at rates that are much higher than other groups. Why doesn't this exist? I sat on it for a year because, everything, fear, resources, all that stuff. And then, and I mean, I don't know, and this doesn't have to be for anybody, but I'm a Christian woman, and I literally feel like on a Sunday afternoon in April in 2020, I was jolted out of my sleep and I was instructed to do it. I didn't have any conversations about it. It was just, I sat up and was like, okay, you're going to do this thing. And what was funny was that everything was already in my head. I had already seen it. I had seen what it looked like. Tanya, I smelled this box in my mind. Like I already knew what it was going to look like because all the things that I would have been looking for or what other folks would have been looking for is more than likely what's in the box. So even thinking through folks, I haven't gotten one bad review yet about the box. I mean, people were like, oh, you know what? I'd love to add this, or I know somebody who would love to add this, but it literally spoke to the culture, right? Um, Everyone, regardless of what ethnicity, what country you come from, everyone has a culture. We have a culture. As Americans, we have a culture. Nigerians have a culture. If you are Caucasian, you have a culture. If you're a person of color, you have a culture. There's a culture for everything. I'm a professor. There's a culture within being an adjunct professor. There's culture in everything that we do. So thinking about the experience of a woman of color, right? So in the box, I have something as simple as a head wrap. It might not seem like anything for anybody, but I have locks. I have dreadlocks in my hair. It does not always look like this, Tanya. Like sometimes it's just not put together. I don't always look decent. I wear head wraps to try to adorn my hair to make it look decent. Or if I wasn't able to get in a wash day, I at least know I have something I could adorn myself with that would make me feel good. It's not even about the fact that, oh, it would look really jazzy. It would make me feel good. Um, Even things like a button that says Super Mom of the Year. We don't always feel that way. People are not going to come and tell you that you are the best mom or that you're doing a good job. Why? Because so many things seem to be going wrong. And that assurance that you are a great mom or that you're doing exactly what it is that you need to be doing, that assurance doesn't come from people because they're not there with you 24/7 watching you take care of your kid. But your kid is alive. That's the key. That is the key word. You are keeping this child alive and healthy. That in itself deserves all the accolades. So, we put a motivational piece in there. There's nipple cream because we know the struggle. Breastfeeding, whether your child is latching or you're pumping, it does affect your nipples. It will affect how you're dealing with your breast. There's a nipple balm in there. There's a lactation tea, but it's also a relaxing tea. So it's format up. It's formulated to be able to do both. There's a body rub. That body rub that my mother and her mother and her mother used all throughout pregnancy to ease those pains, those aches and pains. It's in the box. It's again, it's digging in history, it's digging in ancestry, it's digging into culture and things that have been used time and time again that have had nothing but positive effects on the individual. I did a lot of research on all the items, just to make sure that yes, they're not going to be anything that's going to put mom or baby at risk. Most of the products are organic. I also patronize women-owned businesses and also Black women-owned businesses. Two of the products, I have a wonderful, oh, she's such a beautiful lady in Hawaii, and she has she's the one that makes the teas. And I thought it was important that, folks who are also, women of color and just women in general, you have your hands in this because that's why it feels so warm. That's why it feels like it connects because I didn't have, and my love to all our male supporters, all our fathers, all our, all the men that do support maternal health initiatives and the maternal health movement. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. However, there were no male hands in this box. It all came from the minds and the hands of women and mothers. And so just really dialing into, I didn't want to look at the medical pieces, right? Like, okay, I'm not going to put the diapers and the things like that. You're going to get a whole bunch of those things from the hospital. I wanted to make sure that this is something that when you felt like you needed a moment to just get back into yourself, this is just for you. You're not sharing it with anyone. Your husband, your partner doesn't get a piece of this box. It is all for you. There's no special toy in there for baby. No, it's all for you. And I was very intentional about doing that because you want, if you're going to say that you are creating something for a new mom, let her feel like it's all for her. Let it actually truly reflect that it is for her and for no one else, because sometimes that's how we want to feel. We have to take care of a whole other human being
Mhm.
every so often. You want to feel like, you know what, something is actually all about me. And that's what it does. And, and it also brings in the culture. There's a black soap that I get exclusively from Nigeria, along with the exfoliating sponge. Um, we, I mean, Tanya, are you a mom?
Yeah.
So you know the drill. We don't always get to shower. I hate to say this, everybody, not that we all walk around spanking, but we don't always get to get bath time in. There's a rose water and a vitamin E facial and hair refresher for those days when you just don't. We don't get baths in. Let's just put that out there. We don't always get a chance to take a bath and have a nice, great shower because we are afraid that once we do, our kid is going to get up and is going to be yelling. And just when we need them, we are in the midst of a very wonderful shower, which is why a
Mhm.
lot of times showers are like a luxury.
Mhm.
We get that, so everything is taken into account. And so that's just kind of, I just figured that this would be, along with the work that I do through nonprofits, the work that I've done in even the places that I've actually worked at. Um, this is me doing my part.
Mhm.
The little that I'm doing, this is me doing my part, because every mom, regardless of what color they are, they need to know that they matter, and they need to know that they're seen, and people do care about their well-being, and people do care about their future and their health. And so this is me doing my little part. I
Mhm.
mean, really, that's pretty much what it all is. But injecting that part of Nigerian culture, which I find very heartwarming, that I find very useful. Nigerians are not the only one that has these types of things. I know, I believe, I want to say China, but I'm not exactly sure, but one of the Asian countries, I know Morocco has something very, 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 very specific that they do. And it's actually for a certain period of time. I thought our Omugwo was great. Sometimes I was looking at the Moroccan tradition, and I was like, did I get born into the wrong culture? Because this right here seems like everything. She doesn't even get up. She doesn't walk anywhere. They totally do everything for her. They dress her. They actually hand feed the new mothers. And the whole idea is that they stay for 40 days, and they leave a grave open just in case mom doesn't make it, because those first 40 days after she gets home, and again, other cultures know this, right? They know this, they see it, they put things in place to make sure that they're keeping mom and babies. But we, for some odd reason, we can't get it right. And so this is why I think it's important that we do have other conversations, how other cultures do things that are helpful. And believe me, it is helpful.
Mhm. I love that you are doing this. I love that we are acknowledging that there's an issue, that we're acknowledging that there's a disparity, but it's not just acknowledgement, there's actually action to
Yes.
help change things. Because talk, at the end of the day, there's a reason the phrase talk is cheap exists, right? And if we aren't actually doing something about it, then why does it matter? And so I love that you're doing something, not just from an educational standpoint, but also just from an everyday practical standpoint that is meeting this need. And I am so excited that we've gotten to talk to you about this. I know there's always more to learn. I know our audience is going to have questions. And so we're going to encourage our audience. If you have questions for Dr. Temi, put them in the feed. Tag her, tag Newborn Care Solutions. We'll make sure that you get answers. We're also going to put links in there so that you can find out about the amazing work that Dr. Temi's doing and about her box. And we're hoping that this will encourage you. It will bless you. Maybe for some of you, it will open your eyes to this being a very real problem and things that we need to continue to address and continue to work towards doing something about. So I have loved hearing about your work. I've loved hearing about your box and everything that you're doing. And I'm super excited to follow where you go with all of this. So thanks for sharing all of this with us. I really love it.
And thank you so much to Newborn Care Solutions for inviting me. I mean, I wish I'm going to try to make it to the conference just because of you, Tanya. I'm going to try to make it, but definitely because I do have, we're looking a year ahead. If you all don't call me for next year's conference, I am going to be, and I'm putting this out here right now, world, can you hear it? If I do not have anything to do with the next conference, there's going to be, in the words of folks from Brooklyn, like, see this face? Don't do it. I want to be a part. I want to see what you're doing. I want to hear about the work that you're doing. I get so giddy. I have goosebumps right now. I get so giddy when, there are great organizations like yours that are bringing matters to the forefront, having these important conversations and teaching the masses about, all of these things, all these very important pieces. We've got to do better. We have got to do better collectively as folks within this field. We have to do better as a country. We do have to come to a better place with addressing this and having some real serious conversation. And just like you said, talk is cheap. Right now, I congratulate the vice president on her first steps of, bringing maternal health to the limelight and seeing and letting it be known that, yes, it is something to talk about. We are talking about, are we not putting two and two together? We're talking about the future. You don't take care of us, we can't have the babies. We can't have the healthy babies. If we don't have these healthy babies, we're not reproducing. Therefore, we are not doing anything to increase the population, economics, all of it plays into each other. I wish that's how folks were looking at it. We all matter. Every single one of us matters because we all contribute in some way or another to the world at large. So I'm so excited and so grateful and thankful that I was given this opportunity to, to talk about this. I can talk about this all day. And I'm so glad that, I got to share this time with you, Tanya.
Absolutely. Well, we are so glad to have had you as a guest. So thank you so much for joining us tonight on Real Talk. And thank you to our audience for joining us as well. I hope that this has been beneficial and learning and that you check out the resources that are in the feed so that you can learn more. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in there. Tag Dr. Temi or tag us at Newborn Care Solutions. And if you're wanting to rewatch this segment or catch any of our other Real Talk episodes or access our educational content, you can go to newborncaresolutions.com and click on the education tab. And of course, all of our resources also go up via our YouTube channel. Just type in Newborn Care Solutions Real Talk into the search engine and they all come up. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.